Yeah, I've never been. I'm so excited.
Are you going to south, north, or both? I hope you go to both because it's easy to drive around.
Go north. My friends have a house on the lake near Truckee, I guess, north.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So if you have a chance to get down, there's a bakery called Shotsky's.
Okay.
And they sell their product up in Lake Tahoe. Ben, do you remember Shotsky's?
Wait, well, no,
There's on the way to Tahoe, I forget what city it's in, the best bakery ever in Delhi. It's a family owned, and then they've got a satellite up in Tahoe. I'm not sure if it's North or South Shore. Shotsky's. Look it up. Enjoy. Gorgeous weather.
I have the most horrible recovered memories of the only time I ever went to Reno. I was 18 and my sister had won the Mrs. Minnesota pageant. I'll let that sink in.
I love that.
My parents paid for the entire extended family to go to Reno for the pageant. And the pageant was this 2-day televised ordeal. And it was like 150 degrees, and my father, who had terrible heart disease, was standing there melting in the sun outside the doors that they wouldn't let open. And we had to sit in his auditorium and be filmed, they clapping for this Mrs. America pageant. It was the most horrific. I swear I have PTSD from Reno. That's it.
Wow, that's so funny.
I have.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my childhood memories of Reno, I had an aunt and uncle that had mineral baths in Reno. And back then they were brothels. But I was a kid, and my mom had to have surgery when I was 5. And they thought, oh, well, we'll just send the girls to, the aunt and uncles in Reno. They've got this big ranch. And they had no idea. So here we go off to this mineral bath place in Reno, not knowing what it was. And me, being the adventurous explorer that I was, I wanted to go into every one of these these rooms that they would rent out. And they had to keep me back because, of course, you know what was going on this ranch. And so we were out there for 2 weeks. And that was my experience in Reno, was being on a ranch that turned out to be a brothel. So that was back in the very early, I want to say 60s, 70s rather, probably, late 60s. Yeah, I'm going to say late 60s. So, yeah, all desert, and that's what it was. So, but Tahoe is nothing like Reno.
Can I say something about your brothel experience, Sue? Because that kind of hey, really good stories this morning. Okay, Sue. I live where it's why I come on Clubhouse. Okay, so in Brazil, as Ben knows, there's this thing where, the youth, a lot of them tend to not live independently from their family. And so one of my really good friends, his family owned a love motel. And it's not trashy in the way that, right, Ben? That's the thing. Ben knows about that. Where young couples, just couples, even, whatever, they go to these love motels, and they're not, there's like a tub, some of them are themed, it's not gross, but it's just like, yes, passionate lovers deserve a space, and here's like a space for the passionate lovers. It's very cute, and it's like, well, yeah, that makes total sense, and they're not expensive, and so it's funny because we view brothels and things as negative things here in the United States.
Hour?
I mean, I actually don't. I think it is by like a time, I don't think it's down to the hour, but I think it's like an afternoon.
They often have rose petals in the shape of a heart on the bed, on the cupboard.
They're not dirty. They're cute. And so I just think that they're adorable. And I think it's a good thing for society to have like these little love motels and for it to be a little bit more acceptable.
I agree. There's very few freestanding buildings in Manhattan. However, there is one that sits on the side of the West Side Highway and right in between that and the Meatpacking District, right near the Whitney Museums. And it is the Liberty Hotel. And the Liberty Hotel, it used to be one where like sailors would go and like link up and whatever. Anyway, so it had like a pretty seedy reputation. But over the last 15 years or so, they transformed and leaned in to kind of their reputation and turned it into kind of like a, short-term stay motel, kind of with all the themed rooms, all the themed like love rooms, like heart-shaped beds and things like that, and kind of thematic in the rooms, and you can rent it by the hour, but it's usually like a couple-hour chunks. And that's it, and they lean into it, and it's very cute, and I'm glad it's still there.
Well, you know what? Now everyone in New York has a roommate because it's so expensive. So if you wanted a quiet place, that would be an awesome alternative. And I think they should lean harder.
Yeah, and it's not cheap either. I mean, it's not as expensive as a full night at a regular hotel, but
I think there's an app in there somewhere between LinkedIn, Leaned In, and Hooked Up.
That was really good, Al.
Very entrepreneurial of you. Yeah, that's really good. That's funny. I actually, out of research and curiosity, I actually did go to a legal brothel in outside of Las Vegas, which was quite the experience. It wasn't quite the Chicken Ranch, but it was sort of.
I was going to say, was it the Chicken Ranch?
It was something similar. I don't know. The thing is I've been going to Vegas for years, because first for the photography business, and then later for the internet business. And in the 90s, I was going to Vegas 6 times a year. I mean, I might as well buy an apartment. But whenever in the 80s and 90s, whenever you went into there were always people giving off these. They were like business cards, and that's what they were. They just were advertisements to go to legal brothels, and they're outside of Clark County. So Clark County itself, where Vegas is, prostitution is not legal, but the county's outside, so you have to go about 45 minutes outside of Vegas. So I picked up one of these cards, and I had just separated from my wife, and I thought, well, I had to try this. It's like, why wouldn't I try it? It's like, I'm not going to be married, and there's no strings attached. And so it was like totally out of curiosity. And it was actually, I wouldn't do it again, because it wasn't really very fulfilling, let's say. But it was like a scene out of a movie. It was like you sit in a chair, and they line girls up, and all the girls are in some outfit. Like, one's a cheerleader, and one's a cowgirl, and one's a belly dancer. and you pick the girl you want, and then you negotiate prices and what you want. The process was really interesting. And it turned out I was with this. I mean, she was so nice and pleasant. She was a nursing student at Santa Monica College, and this is how she made money on the weekends. And we had this very pleasant discussion, but it was really pretty surreal.
I was wondering, hi Ben, it's been a long time.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I was wondering, you were talking about heart-shaped beds. Does that make anyone more, what is the word, libidos, or more romantic? I feel like that would be a turn-off for me if it was like too cheesy. I don't know. Does that make people get excited?
Yeah, no. It's the heart-shaped bed thing. Reminds me of what was the movie about the secret agent with Mike Myers? You know that movie, the crazy movie. Anyway, that's what it reminds me of.
Austin Powers.
Austin Powers. It's an Austin Powers thing where the bed's like revolving around the room and it has like a bear skin rug on it. And yeah, it is sort of cheesy. Sora, I agree with you. I'm not in heart-shaped beds. Anyway, yes, beds in love motels. This is good. I love hearing people's little personal stories. You know what it reminded me of when you started talking, Al? It started reminding me of this documentary about a music festival that like went bonkers. It was like the Fire Festival. Did anybody see that movie? Which was a true documentary of like this Coachella, Woodstock kind of event that had sold like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of tickets, and it was a total bust. I mean, it literally everything that it was supposed to happen didn't happen. The music bands all never showed up, and it was raining, and they didn't have the facilities, and there was like the whole. It was a big thing. I don't know if anybody saw that.
I have as long as we're talking about sex capades, I've got a story to contribute.
Oh, good.
Yeah, when I was in my 20s, I and, as English teachers, what we do on the weekends is go clubbing and, nightlife. And so one of these times, I'm walking, maybe I don't know if I was out of train fare or something, but I had a long walk back to my apartment. And this Japanese guy pulls up in a car and, offers to give me a lift. And then you get in the car, and then suddenly I realize, like, oh, he wants a hand job.
Okay,
So
that's awkward.
And it's kind of awkward, but, also I'm like, wow, I just got into this car. Okay. So I told him that I would, the hand job, whatever, if he drove me to my apartment. And so he did, and then I ran out of the car.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I didn't pay the bill.
Oh my God! I hope he didn't take you to small claims court. Yeah.
No, that's my story.
Well, that's pretty funny, but it also sounds pretty scary. I don't know.
Well, like the Japanese, I mean, blanket cultural statement here, but they're perverts, but they're polite perverts. So they wouldn't actually they wouldn't actually like attack you or anything, but they will be perverted, and you're welcome. I don't know if you're willing to partake, but then they'll just politely drive away.
Wow. So he didn't. There was no foreplay talk ahead of time. He just went right to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just. I'm trying to remember now because it's been eons, but I think he just unzipped his pants and.
Wow.
I pretty much put two and two together.
That's a pretty overt gesture.
Yeah, I must have had enough Japanese to say, something about, I'll agree to do it if you drive me home or at my place,
Right.
And then when we got home, I just told her.
That was just so very practical of you. I love it.
Yeah,
Well, there's a Seinfeld episode about this where that happened to Elaine. She was going out with a guy and they were driving and he unzipped his pants. So it does happen. That's a good story. Anyway, there's stuff happening out in the world, and we'd love to have more people up here. We've got 7 of my best friends. Oh, here we go. Wait a second. Uh-oh. I don't know who Angie is, so, but you can come up here if we know you. So I apologize, Angie. I don't know you, so until we get to know you, you can partake in the chat room or on the stage. But if we do know you, you know the rules. We have room for 12 at the table, and you know, where we talk about stuff. I'm just looking at this at the New York Times. This one thing I had just seen, it says Trump has drafted a letter to fire the Fed chair and ask Republicans if he should. So this is pretty interesting that Trump is starting to do what Elon Musk does. Because this is what Elon Musk does. He goes on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. He goes on Twitter and he puts out, he starts his own poll. And he says, do you think we should do X, Y, Z? And then, of course, whatever he wants, he does the answer because he only knows, he makes up whatever answer he wants. But it's like a really weird way of like pretending like he's democratic. So I guess this is Donald Trump's way of saying, it's pretty fucking crazy. I don't know, does anybody up on stage have an article that they read or something they've been thinking about, or if they want to vent about anything? I know, Scotty, you must have something you want to vent about.
Me?
Yeah.
No. I mean, people were surprised that Cuomo was running as independent, which is what I told everybody months ago that he was going to do regardless. So he's running as independent. The polls right now are 35 for Zoran, 25 for Cuomo. I think it's like 13 or 18% for the Republican, Curtis Sliwa, the racist, and homophobe, and 11% for Mayor Adams.
So do you think it's not going to make any difference either way?
You know, it's hard to know. There's a lot of time between now and November, and they're going to be throwing everything at Mamdani. And once again, I think the takeaway here, regardless of what happens, Mamdani's campaign should be studied by the Democratic Party nationwide, not for the policies, specifically, thank you, but for the strategy that he was employing. Look, he just that's because he's run an exceptional campaign. He knows how to connect with people. He knows how to do social media. He knows how to do interviews. And he knows how to get back to like retail politics, going out, meeting people in the community where they are, like one-to-one, and excellent at that. He has energized so many young people in this city, but also energized older people. It's not just cut and dry on, you know, the type of people that he resonates with. His message is very simple, is making New York City more affordable. And that resonates with pretty much everybody. I mean, lots of older people agree too. And maybe that's because they hate Cuomo, they hate Adams, and they'll never vote for Sliwa. So that's possible. But the amount of energy around this guy is palpable. And to see it happening, it's very, very exciting. I don't know, I have a lot of issues with him vis-a-vis his policies and experience. However, I mean, if you can motivate a lot of people to be active in politics, I mean, this is a winning strategy for, for the Democratic Party across America. And again, not the Democratic Socialist Party per se, but just the energy, the connecting to the issues that people care about, that are very much like kitchen table issues.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you, although the only critical thing I would say is I think what he did is amazing, and they should look at what he's doing and try to mimic it. But I think that it's somewhat of a generational thing, because Cuomo is already starting to try to mimic the thing, and it doesn't work. It's a generational thing. Every time he tries to copy, it comes out very cringy. So I'm curious if outside, if this is really a young person's campaign, and if anybody outside of his generation does it or younger, it looks like it's manipulative, right? It doesn't look genuine. It doesn't look genuine for Cuomo to act like Mamdani. It just doesn't translate.
I know. It's honestly, you ran a terrible campaign, that Cuomo guy.
Oh, it's horrible.
Like really, really bad. Wasn't good in the debates and everything like that. Again, like a debate can change things. So the debate happens, and Cuomo's on his feet, and Mamdani can't get any traction because he was fumbling over his policies that a lot of them can't be done unless, of course, the city council agrees with them, and of course the state legislature and Kathy Hochul passed things. This is specifically regarding like taxes and stuff that he wants to raise. So it's going to be very difficult. However, I think it's going to be interesting is how after the summer, after people are really focusing after Labor Day, what is the campaign going to look like? What are the gaps the candidates going to make? Is Eric Adams going to even push above the 11% that he has currently? And how many debates? I don't know how many debates they're going to do. And hopefully they do a lot. And I think a lot of people are waiting for something like that because a lot of people are not sold on Zoran. I'm not 100% on him either. I know that I hate Cuomo, but it doesn't mean that he's out of the picture for everybody, and he could sneak up there. So, Adam and Cuomo switch the vote of those types of people. And the way that the map broke down in New York City is very fascinating. You have a lot of gentrified neighborhoods voting for Zoran. You have a lot of the old school black neighborhoods, a lot of homeowners that were staunchly Cuomo. You have people who make under $50,000 a year. One would think they would be for Zoran, but they were for Cuomo. And then, boroughs like the Bronx and Staten Island, no surprise, went to Cuomo as well. So it's really fascinating to see the old neighborhoods in Brooklyn. The Bedside, which is a predominantly black neighborhood, but it has been gentrified to an extent, and is also wealthier, and the wealthier black neighborhoods, Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, they all went to Zoran. But you go just a mile away and you're in, let's say, East Flatbush, and you're in Canarsie or Brownsville or whatever. Those are predominantly old school black neighborhoods, and they all went staunchly for Cuomo. So it's just fascinating to see this breakdown happening. So we'll see what happens. I'm very curious.
Yeah, me too. Since it's going to be my new home. Yeah. Let's say it is. I was just reading, I don't know if you saw this in the New York Times, an ex-commissioner sues Eric Adams, saying that ran the NYPD as a criminal enterprise. Is that surprising?
I mean, yeah, we don't care. I mean, to be honest, like his corruption thing, when I was reading about it and found out like what it actually was, I was like, I don't know, on the scale of corruption, we don't want corruption, period, right? But on the scale of corruption, like, he could have been way more corrupt. $100,000 was what I think went to his campaign. I'm like, all right, well, that's nothing. If you're going to go big, do $5 billion. All right, you got a free flight to fucking Turkey, first class, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, well, this is kind of on the lower end. It's corruption and it shouldn't happen, but it's kind of funny that they were doing all that for him, and he's been labeled as a corruption candidate, which is true. He's corruption, but it didn't strike me as like completely over the top. Maybe we're just used to corruption being at such a lowest level.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he didn't do it. Like, look at this. Because I was on a conference call with a lot of real estate people in New York, listening to a lot of like the bigwigs that had a company with regards to Zoran and its impact going to impact the real estate market, how people feeling about it. And the general consensus is, apart from like wait and see, It was more like, hey, New York is New York. You know, the people are, we're always going to leave to go to Florida for this or that. But there isn't a mass exodus. There are some people who are inclined to sell anyway and leave to Florida or Texas to escape state income taxes. But generally speaking, like, where are you going to go? You know, to have the lifestyle that you have here, you got to pay for it. You know, nobody's going, there's no Broadway in Miami, there's no Broadway in Dallas or Houston, you know, there's no like crazy amount of restaurants. There are great restaurants in Houston, of course, and, you know, parts of Miami, but there's nothing like New York City. And a lot of people live here and they're just, you know, sucking it up. It's not going to be a fire sale of people getting out of here because of Democrat social maybe mayor. They scared the hell out of us when de Blasio was elected mayor because he was like one of the most progressive ones, allegedly. He turned out to be fine for the city. It was kind of like a walk. Like, yeah, people could leave or whatever, but, you know, taxes weren't crazy. And a lot of these politicians can talk shit about like, hey, we're going to raise your taxes, and everybody gets like really scared or whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, the people end up staying here, you know, and the real estate industry is going to move on. The inventory is very low here, so it's still hard to find places at every single price level. And people are just going to, you know, suck it up. The super wealthy people are going to suck it up. And if they have to pay, like, I don't know, what is it, 20,000 more a year, if you're making $1 million and more, that's Zoran's proposal. You know what? They'll get over it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that was a really good assessment. Yeah, and it's similar to the idea in California. Everybody's leaving California. No, they're not. You know, they're there. The reason why California is the fourth largest economy in the world is because it has all these advantages that are unique. So, you know, it makes no sense. You know, and also real estate is a long-term business. And they also know that if he's that bad, he's not going to last more than a few years, and it'll turn back to their advantage 3 years from now, and they can wait it out. It's like there's no real like emergency here at all. Okay, let's go to Andrew and then to Rick and David. So you guys get ready, and anybody down below that wants to come up. Andrew, what's happening today? Happy Wednesday.
Thank you. And you?
Yes.
Well, of course, fires are always in the news lately.
Yeah.
I guess I got 1 in 10 evacuees in Manitoba are not yet in hotel spaces, even though they're available. So I don't know. There must be some kind of
Anthony is a fraud and a liar.
involved there to account for the delay. We're talking about 1,000 people or so, something like that. But the hoteliers are saying there is room, so that's a good thing anyway. But yeah, you know, anytime government starts to chart your accommodations, you're going to have an issue, I think. Anyway, an incident out of Vancouver this morning or yesterday, and I'm not really sure the details. It kind of seemed a little weird. They're calling it a hijack. It was a small aircraft out of Victoria, so just across on the island, and they hijacked this plane, they being one guy, and he was the only passenger, or he was the only person on board, it said. So, and he flew it to Vancouver, and of course they had to stop flights from landing for about 39 minutes while this guy eventually landed and was arrested. But I don't know if that's hijacking or just stealing an aircraft. I don't know how that worked, but it's kind of strange. And then this afternoon or this morning, Porter Airlines, which they run from Toronto Island Airport to Ottawa, Montreal, New York City, and I suppose they go west too, because this flight had left actually not from the island airport, but from Hamilton, which is a great place to go if you want to travel anywhere in Canada rather than going into Toronto. Their international airport, which is a nightmare. Go to Hamilton. It's just a little pokey airport. Very simple.
Yeah.
So they had a flight going to Vancouver, which had to make an emergency landing in Regina, Saskatchewan. So that's about a little bit more than halfway. But I just think it's odd. Nobody actually flies to Regina. It's just why would you really? It's in the middle of prairie, nothing there. Sorry, Regina people. Then a couple of weeks ago, I guess about 2 weeks, I think, there were 4 guys arrested in Quebec, and I meant to mention it last week or the week before, whenever it was. And these guys are, 2 of them are current members of the armed forces. I don't know who the other 2 guys are, but they were arrested because they joined. They were going to create this militia, which has its a beef against the government, liberals in particular, and they were found with a large cache of weaponry and ammunition. And this is so they've been two of them, like I said, are in the armed forces. I don't know about the other 2 guys, but 3 of them have been charged with terrorism. So I guess they were really actively trying to start something for whatever. Good luck. I know our army's small, but I think we can hold off 4 guys. But it's just, it could have been pretty catastrophic. This impacts millions of people that are, Parliament Hill or something. So anyway, that's a good. Yeah, but I mean, this has been an issue for the armed forces for some time. This extremist mentality of some of these people, and I heard this morning that 2 of them had actually joined the forces specifically to get trained for this sort of thing. So I mean, that's pretty extreme and out there. But yeah, this has been an issue in the armed forces, and I think you get a certain type of person that is attracted to that life, and running and jumping and playing with guns and stuff. And some of them are just whacked out. So I mean, I think you get that in the police forces too. People that are very militaristic.
Well, they have to look out for that to prevent that from happening. That is a thing.
Well, the RCMP arrested him, and they always get their man.
Right.
Yeah. So, and we don't have these love hotels you're talking about up here. We have love shacks, baby love shacks.
What's the difference?
Well, the beds are in the shape of a maple leaf.
Okay. Good.
Okay, kids. Have a good one.
All right, thanks. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, let's go to Rick. Ricardo, what's happening in the fine city of Oxnard?
Well, let's see. A Cal State Channel Islands professor, PhD, was taken into custody by ICE, and nobody knows where he is. Nobody can find him.
Wow. So they're claiming he's an illegal? Is that what they're claiming, that he's undocumented?
They're claiming that he threw a tear gas container at ICE. He's just vanished. Nobody knows where he is. And yet he made phone calls. So
Yeah.
that's
That's the best to do that.
No due process. Let's see. Pam Bondi dismissed the chief ethics officer for the Justice Department yesterday without cause.
Mm-hmm.
But, why do you need an ethics officer if you don't believe in ethics?
Right.
And then the one that really kind of hit home to me for a nation that claims to be a Christian nation is 500 tons of food are going to be burned.
Yeah, it's amazing.
USAID. They're biscuits. They're like protein biscuits. They're not. It's not lobster rolls.
Right.
I'm sure they're pretty tasteless. Design food. to keep people alive. And it's enough to feed, I think, 1.5 million kids for a week. They're just going to burn it. Doji.
That's the real criminal thing about this, is that even if you take their argument that there's waste, fraud, and abuse, why would they even be able to claw back contracts that already have been signed? It's like this is money that's already been paid. Why? How are they even able to do that? The level of illegality, let alone cruelty, is shocking. It's like, why wouldn't they let them do that and they just won't buy anymore? I get, Go ahead, sorry.
It's literally burning taxpayer dollars. Now this is the food that was. I think this is the food that was at the Port of Houston.
Yeah.
And it's been sitting there since they cut off the ID, and they wouldn't let them load it on the container. Even though it was ready to go, it was ready to be distributed, they wouldn't let
already
it go.
paid for, already funded.
Already paid for, already funded. Literally, they are burning tax dollars to be cruel.
Yeah.
And for a nation that, I can't believe that this isn't the churches across the nation and the evangelical pastors aren't screaming bloody murder.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Sorry, I'm Jesus. Sorry, I'm gonna burn this fish because you all don't deserve it. It's so crazy. It's almost unimaginable the type of mind that would think up something so nasty